Multiple Steelers updates. This has fans fired up. As the Steelers have just signed Aaron Rodgers, they are looking to trade for another offensive weapon. My name is Peyton Kleppe, and on today's episode of Steelers Digest, we'll be breaking down the latest Pittsburgh Steelers reports and analysis regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers football team. Before we get into the latest news, if you guys would just click that subscribe button down below. Only 13% of our current viewers are actually currently subscribed. So if you could click that subscribe button, we are trying to hit that 2K subscriber mark. So Steelers have obviously just made a huge move. We finally brought in Aaron Rodgers. He finally decided, hey, I do want to play for Coach Tomlin. I do want to play for the Steelers. Came into Pittsburgh, signed that 1-year deal, and he's good to go. He's ready to go for mandatory minicamp, and his contract's worth $13.65 million with $10 million guaranteed. This is in line with, when he was talking on the Pat McAfee show. It feels like months ago, but it was really only 1 or 2 months ago. And he was talking about his desire to play and, his future in the NFL. And he said, hey, I'll play for 10 M's. And contract's worth a little bit more, but it's only $10 million guaranteed. Yet I say only, and that's a ton of money. But, with incentives, this deal could get up to $19.5 million. And, I think Rodgers will show out in his last year in Pittsburgh. So I do expect him to get those incentives. But, we will have to wait and see. I'm very excited the Steelers actually finally got this guy. Prior to him, we only had Mason Rudolph and Will Howard on the roster. So going into a season, that's never a good feeling when you have a guy who's never even played NFL football before, and then another guy who's coming off of a season where he threw 9 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So bringing in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, we obviously know what he's done in the past. Even looking back to last year, although he did play on the Jets, and I believe they only won 5 games, if you do look at his stats and you look at his individual play, he really did not play that bad. He threw for 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and, this is also after coming off of an Achilles injury. Obviously, an Achilles injury is no joke. Usually that rehab can take minimum, usually a year. Depending on the athlete, obviously. KD is a freak. And I expect Jason Tatum to bounce back from this injury. But anyways, Aaron Rodgers, he was coming off that Achilles injury. So he really, and at the age he was 41 years old. So, coming off an Achilles injury that late in your career, definitely rough, especially on a team like the Jets, who does not offer you any sort of pass protection, any sort of weapons, really. Their defense fell apart. So I think he's coming into a much better situation in Pittsburgh, and he has decided to rock that number 8. But on the other hand, the Steelers are still looking to acquire a pass catcher for Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, a name that was thrown around was Kyle Pitts, and reportedly it has come up once again. Ian Rappaport has reported that the Pittsburgh Steelers have made a final call to Atlanta to inquire about Pitts. Pitts has been, I believe he was not practicing at OTAs due to a muscle injury in his foot. But Steelers have had their eyes on tight ends, like Rappaport has said. Kyle Pitts, there was a phone call there. The Steelers are in the market for at least one more playmaker. And, I think the Steelers could bring in a tight end, could bring in another wide receiver. Obviously, they did host Gabe Davis on a visit a few days ago. Nothing came from that, so I really don't expect them to sign him. Usually, if the Steelers bring in a free agent, usually in the next couple of days, obviously, barring the Aaron Rodgers situation, usually once we bring in a free agent, they usually just don't leave the building, and the Steelers usually try to get that contract done while in-house. So I don't think the Steelers will bring in Gabe Davis. Just waiting this long would be a little weird for him. So another name Steelers have been linked to is Jonnu Smith. They've obviously been inquiring with the Dolphins about him. The only thing about Jonnu Smith, though, is he does require that whatever team that does end up having him does have to pay him. And I don't really think the Pittsburgh Steelers want to pay out a ton of money for two number one tight ends, especially because we have Darnell Washington at that number two spot. He is a pass catching tight end, but he's a much better blocker. I mean, you could debate that's because we don't utilize him enough, but that's a whole nother conversation to have. But Kyle Pitts, low risk, high reward with a Kyle Pitts kind of guy coming out of Miami, or not Miami, Florida, excuse me. Coming out of Florida, Kyle Pitts had a lot of high hopes for the NFL. He was a top prospect, top 5 overall pick. First season in the NFL, has 1,000 yards. But since then, he really has not been able to replicate it. But, bringing in a guy like Kyle Pitts would help us. Although he is a tight end, he is pass-catching tight end. And as you guys do know, we did deal away George Pickens earlier on this offseason to the Dallas Cowboys for a little collection of picks. But, that trade was definitely very eye-opening and definitely shocking for us Steelers fans. And it definitely eliminated our number 2 wide receiver from our team. So we are going to have to look to either develop a number 2 receiver or trade for a guy who could be the number 2 option on our offense. We did bring in DK Metcalf earlier this offseason as well for a second-round pick. But, bringing in a guy like Kyle Pitts would only help Aaron Rodgers and Coach Tomlin as they go out on their final ride. I mean, it just seems like this is it. If Steelers do not make the playoffs, Steelers do not advance in the playoffs this year, I think it will be Coach Tomlin's last year or possibly one of his last couple years in Pittsburgh. I love Coach T. He's been great for us for so many years, but, doing the same thing over and over and over and over, it's not coming out to a different result. We've tried all these other quarterbacks since Big Ben. We tried the Kenny Pickett experience. We tried Mitch Trubisky. We tried Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. And now we're trying Mr. Aaron Rodgers himself. Mr. Rodgers from down the block. The guy that did beat us in the Super Bowl. He's coming back, and he's giving us a chance to win one more as Coach T. And Aaron Rodgers remain probably the last 2 guys in the NFL from that mid-2000s to 2010 era of NFL football. I mean, the last couple guys are still in the league, but, it is kind of cool to see a guy like Aaron Rodgers and Coach Tomlin get to play together for probably the last couple years of Aaron Rodgers' career. And we will see about Tomlin. If Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers and Coach T come out and have a ton of success this year, I could see the Steelers bringing Coach T back, but vice versa. If Steelers come out, start 0-6 like Orlovsky said, we might have some discussions to be made. Unfortunately, that's all I have for you guys tonight on Steelers Digest. If you guys not already currently subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below. Thank you so much. Here we go, Steelers. Peace out, boys.